Chapter 1. The True Nature of Human Constitution. According to Helena Blavatsky's theosophical teachings, transmitted through the ancient wisdom of the Mahatmas, human beings are not merely physical bodies animated by some mysterious life force. Rather, we are complex, multi-dimensional beings operating simultaneously across 7 distinct planes of existence, each corresponding to a different aspect of our consciousness and evolutionary development. Blavatsky revealed that the human constitution consists of 7 principles, arranged in a hierarchical order from the densest to the most refined. The physical body, known as the Sthula Sharira, represents only the grossest manifestation of our being, the temporary vehicle through which the immortal soul experiences material existence. This physical form is animated by the prana, or life force, which is not personal to any individual, but represents the universal energy that sustains all living beings. Beyond the physical and vital principles lies the Linga Sharira, or astral body, the ethereal double that serves as the model upon which the physical form is built. This astral counterpart, composed of subtle matter invisible to ordinary vision, contains the blueprint of our physical structure and serves as the bridge between the material and psychological aspects of our being. The 4th principle, Kama, or desire nature, represents the animal soul, the seat of our passions, emotions, and lower mental processes. This principle is what humans share with the animal kingdom, containing all the drives and instincts necessary for survival and reproduction in the material world. The higher triad consists of manas, mind, buddhi, spiritual soul, and atma, universal spirit. Manas itself is dual, with its lower aspect connected to the personal ego and its higher aspect linked to the immortal spiritual nature. Buddhi represents the vehicle of Atma, the individual's connection to universal consciousness and divine wisdom. Understanding this septenary constitution is crucial for comprehending what actually happens during the death process and the subsequent journey of consciousness through various planes of existence before eventual reincarnation. Chapter 2. The Moment of Physical Death. When physical death approaches, according to Blavatsky's teachings received from the Tibetan masters, a profound process of separation begins that follows precise laws governing the relationship between consciousness and matter. The moment of death is not a sudden cessation of existence, but rather a graduated withdrawal of the life principles from the physical vehicle that has served its purpose for that incarnation. During the final moments of life, the dying person often experiences a complete review of their entire existence, as the thread of memory unrolls with extraordinary vividness and clarity. This phenomenon, described in theosophical literature as the panoramic vision, occurs because the astral light surrounding the individual contains the complete record of every thought, emotion, and action from that lifetime. The life force, or prana, is the first principle to withdraw, causing the cessation of vital functions such as breathing and circulation. However, consciousness does not immediately depart with the physical death. Instead, there is a period during which the departing soul remains connected to the body through the magnetic cord that has linked the astral and physical bodies throughout life. This transitional period can last from several hours to 3 days, depending on the spiritual development of the individual and the circumstances of death. During this time, the consciousness gradually separates from its physical moorings, while remaining in a state that Blavatsky compared to natural sleep, unaware of the death process itself. The manner of death significantly influences this transition. Those who die naturally after a fulfilled life experience a peaceful separation, while sudden or violent deaths can cause confusion and delay in the soul's recognition of its new condition. The individual's spiritual preparation during life also determines the ease or difficulty of this transition. Ancient wisdom teaches that during these first hours after physical death, it is crucial that the body remains undisturbed, as premature burial or cremation can cause suffering to the still connected consciousness. Only after the complete withdrawal of the astral double should the physical remains be disposed of according to cultural traditions. Chapter 3. The First Stage, Astral Plane Transition. Following the complete separation from the physical body, consciousness awakens in what theosophical teachings describe as the astral plane, a realm of matter more refined than physical substance, but still relatively dense compared to the higher spiritual plane. This first stage of post-mortem existence is characterized by gradual awakening to the new conditions of existence without a physical body. The astral plane, according to Blavatsky's revelations from the Mahatmas, is not a single location, but rather a spectrum of subplanes corresponding to different states of consciousness and levels of purification. The newly deceased soul finds itself in that particular astral region, which corresponds to its dominant mental and emotional state during earthly life. Those who lived primarily in their lower nature, driven by material desires and sensual gratifications, remain in the denser regions of the astral plane, still attempting to satisfy appetites that can no longer be fulfilled through physical means. These souls often remain earthbound, attracted to the physical plane by their unfulfilled desires and unable to progress to higher states until these attachments are gradually weakened. Conversely, individuals who cultivated higher aspirations during life find themselves in the more refined astral regions, where their purified desire nature allows for a more rapid transition through this plane. The duration of stay in the astral realm varies enormously, from a few days for highly spiritual individuals to many years for those heavily bound by material attachments. During this astral sojourn, the soul experiences a gradual process of purification as the lower desires and earthly memories slowly fade from active consciousness. This is not a punitive process, but rather a natural law of spiritual evolution, as the immortal portion of the being prepares to separate from the temporary personality that characterized the recently concluded incarnation. The astral plane serves as a kind of intermediate state where the soul reviews and processes the experiences of the past life while gradually releasing its attachment to the personal identity that has now served its purpose in the grand scheme of spiritual evolution. Chapter 4. The second stage, Kamaloka purification. The second stage of post-mortem existence unfolds in what theosophical teachings call Kamaloka, literally the place of desires. This realm represents a crucial purification process where the soul must confront and release all the passions, desires, and emotional attachments that bound it to material existence during the previous incarnation. Blavatsky explained that Kamaloka is not a geographical location, but rather a state of consciousness corresponding to the astral plane's purifying function. Here, the recently deceased consciousness experiences what might be called a purgatorial process, though this purification follows natural law rather than divine punishment. During this stage, the soul encounters the consequences of every selfish desire, every harmful emotion, and every negative thought pattern that characterized its earthly existence. These experiences manifest not as external punishments, but as the natural working out of karmic forces that the individual set in motion during physical life. The duration and intensity of the Kamaloka experience vary dramatically according to the spiritual development achieved during the previous incarnation. Highly evolved souls who lived primarily from their spiritual nature may pass through this realm quickly, having few gross desires to purify. However, those who lived predominantly in their lower nature may spend considerable time working through accumulated karmic debris. This purification process serves a crucial evolutionary function by burning away the dross of personality, leaving only those refined elements worthy of preservation in the soul's permanent records. The temporary ego consciousness that dominated during earthly life gradually dissolves, allowing the immortal spiritual nature to emerge more clearly. During Kamaloka, the soul may experience vivid recreations of earthly scenes and relationships, but these are essentially subjective phenomena arising from memory and desire rather than actual contact with other beings. This stage represents the death of the personal ego and the birth of clearer spiritual perception. The wise person prepares for this transition during life by cultivating detachment from material pleasures and developing the higher nature that will facilitate rapid passage through the purification process. Chapter 5. The third stage, mental plane awakening. As the purification of desires reaches completion, consciousness begins its ascent to what Blavatsky termed the mental plane, or Rupaloka, the realm of form within the mental sphere. This third stage represents a significant elevation in the soul's post-mortem journey, as it moves beyond the astral realm's emotional turbulence into the clearer atmosphere of thought and mental creation. The mental plane, according to theosophical teachings received from the Tibetan masters, operates according to laws fundamentally different from those governing physical or astral existence. Here, thought becomes the primary creative force, and consciousness experiences reality through mental imagery and conceptual understanding rather than through desires or physical sensations. Upon awakening in this realm, the soul finds itself in possession of what Blavatsky called the Mayavi Rupa, or illusory body, a mental vehicle perfectly suited for existence on the thought plane. This body is formed from the individual's highest mental concepts and spiritual aspirations, representing the most refined expression of their consciousness achieved during earthly life. In the mental plane, the soul begins to experience the fruition of all the noble thoughts, spiritual aspirations, and altruistic emotions cultivated during the previous incarnation. Every moment of genuine spiritual seeking, every act of selfless service, and every thought directed toward universal welfare now manifests as concrete experiences of beauty, wisdom, and bliss. This stage serves as preparation for the higher realms by allowing consciousness to familiarize itself with purely mental modes of existence. The soul learns to function without the limitations imposed by physical or even astral matter, operating instead through direct mental perception and intuitive understanding. The duration of this mental plane sojourn depends upon the quantity and quality of mental and spiritual development achieved during the previous earth life. Those who cultivated rich intellectual and spiritual lives find abundant material for extended experiences in this realm, while those who lived primarily on physical and emotional levels may pass through more quickly. Chapter 6. The fourth stage. Devachan preparation. The fourth stage in the soul's post-mortem journey involves preparation for entry into Devachan, the celestial state that represents the highest and most blissful period of the between-incarnation cycle. This preparatory phase, described in Blavatsky's teachings as the threshold of paradise, marks the consciousness's final purification before entering the purely spiritual realms. Devachan, literally meaning the shining land in Sanskrit, represents the heaven state of various religious traditions, though theosophical teachings reveal it to be a highly subjective experience rather than an objective location. The soul's preparation for this state involves the complete transcendence of all lower mental processes and the awakening of purely spiritual consciousness. During this preparatory stage, the last vestiges of personal identity from the concluded incarnation undergo final dissolution. The temporary personality that existed during earthly life, having served its evolutionary purpose, now yields its accumulated wisdom to the immortal spiritual nature, while the rest of its substance returns to the universal reservoir from which it was originally drawn. This process of personality dissolution represents not a loss, but a liberation, as the immortal soul is freed from the limitations and conditioning that characterized its previous incarnation. The spiritual essence of all earthly experiences, the wisdom gained, the love expressed, the truth perceived, becomes permanently integrated into the soul's eternal nature. The preparation for Devachan also involves what might be called a karmic accounting, where the laws of cause and effect determine the nature and duration of the coming celestial experience. Every noble aspiration, every moment of spiritual elevation, every act of selfless service performed during earthly life now becomes the raw material from which the Devachanic experience will be constructed. Only those mental and emotional elements that correspond to humanity's highest nature are preserved for the Devachanic state. All thoughts and feelings rooted in separateness, selfishness, or material attachment have been purged during the earlier stages, leaving only the pure gold of spiritual achievement. Chapter 7. The fifth stage, Devachanic bliss. The fifth stage represents the actual experience of Devachan, the heaven state that Blavatsky described as the soul's ultimate reward for spiritual effort during earthly existence. This celestial condition represents the fruition of every noble aspiration, every spiritual longing, and every moment of genuine love and wisdom cultivated during the previous incarnation. In Devachan, consciousness experiences perfect fulfillment of its highest earthly dreams and aspirations, but in forms far transcending anything possible during physical existence. The soul lives in a state of uninterrupted bliss, surrounded by all that it most deeply loved and valued during earthly life, but purified of all elements that could cause suffering or limitation. The Devachanic experience is intensely personal and subjective, created entirely from the individual's own spiritual substance accumulated during earthly existence. A musician might experience perfect harmonies beyond earthly composition. A philosopher might commune directly with eternal truths. A loving parent might enjoy unending unity with beloved children. Yet all these experiences represent spiritual realities rather than mere subjective fantasies. According to theosophical teachings, the soul in Devachan remains unconscious of anything that could disturb its blissful state. There is no awareness of suffering, conflict, or limitation. The consciousness exists in what Blavatsky called an unalloyed happiness, where every spiritual faculty unfolds in perfect harmony with universal law. The duration of the Devachanic state varies enormously according to the spiritual capital accumulated during earthly life. Some souls may remain in this celestial condition for periods equivalent to hundreds or even thousands of Earth years, while others with limited spiritual development may experience relatively brief Devachanic interludes. This heaven state serves crucial evolutionary purposes by allowing the soul to fully assimilate the spiritual lessons of the previous incarnation and to strengthen those higher faculties that will be needed for future earthly service. The blissful experiences of Devachan become permanent additions to the soul's spiritual nature. Chapter 8. The Sixth Stage. Spiritual Gestation. The sixth stage of the post-mortem journey involves what Blavatsky termed spiritual gestation, a profound period of unconscious development where the soul prepares for eventual return to physical incarnation. This stage represents a kind of cosmic sleep during which the evolutionary forces work to integrate all experiences from the completed cycle and prepare the blueprint for the coming incarnation. During this gestation period, consciousness withdraws into the deepest levels of its own spiritual nature, becoming unconscious of all personal identity, while remaining united with the universal life that sustains all evolution. This state resembles the deep sleep of physical existence, but operates on a cosmic scale, lasting for periods that may extend across geological ages. The spiritual gestation serves multiple evolutionary purposes that transcend the individual soul's development. During this period, the karmic forces set in motion during the previous incarnation continue their work, weaving the complex web of circumstances that will provide the optimal conditions for the soul's continued evolution in a future life. The higher spiritual principles of the individual, Atma, Buddhi, and the higher aspects of Manas, remain active during this gestation, though their activity is entirely unconscious from the perspective of personal identity. These principles participate in what theosophical literature calls the breath of Brahma, the vast cosmic cycles that govern the evolution of consciousness throughout the universe. According to Blavatsky's teachings, this stage also involves the soul's temporary return to the source, a reunion with the universal spirit from which all individual consciousness originally emanated. This return does not involve loss of individual identity, but rather a profound renewal and recharging of the soul's spiritual batteries for the work ahead. The duration of spiritual gestation varies according to the soul's evolutionary level and the cosmic cycles governing reincarnation. Highly advanced souls may experience relatively brief gestation periods, while newer souls may remain in this state for extended cosmic periods before being drawn back into the cycle of rebirth. Chapter 9. The seventh stage. Reincarnation. Preparation. The seventh and final stage of the between-incarnation cycle involves the soul's preparation for return to physical existence through the process of reincarnation. This stage begins as consciousness gradually awakens from the deep spiritual gestation and starts to feel the magnetic pull toward manifestation in a new physical form. According to Blavatsky's revelations from the Masters, this preparation process follows precise laws that ensure each soul incarnates under conditions perfectly suited to its evolutionary needs and karmic obligations. The circumstances of birth, including family, nationality, physical constitution, and life opportunities, are all determined by the soul's accumulated karma and its specific requirements for continued development. During this preparatory stage, the soul begins to form new connections with the astral and mental materials that will constitute its vehicles for the coming incarnation. These new bodies are constructed from the universal substance, but their specific characteristics are determined by the karmic patterns established during previous lives and the particular lessons the soul needs to learn. The process involves what theosophical teachings describe as the spinning of the thread of destiny, where the soul's higher nature works with evolutionary forces to create the precise life circumstances needed for optimal growth. This includes not only external conditions but also the internal constitution, the blend of qualities, tendencies, and capabilities that will characterize the new personality. The soul at this stage also reconnects with other evolving beings with whom it shares karmic relationships. Family members, friends, enemies, teachers, and students from previous incarnations, may be drawn together again to continue their mutual evolution and resolve outstanding karmic obligation. This preparation phase also involves the soul's choice of the specific physical lineage that will provide the appropriate hereditary materials for the new incarnation. While the soul cannot control all circumstances of birth, the higher wisdom ensures that each being incarnates within the genetic and cultural matrix best suited to its evolutionary requirements. The final phase of preparation involves the soul's gradual descent through the mental and astral planes toward physical manifestation. Chapter 10. The Karmic Cycles and Soul Evolution. Understanding the 7 stages of post-mortem existence requires comprehension of the vast karmic cycles that govern soul evolution, according to Blavatsky's theosophical system. These cycles operate on multiple scales simultaneously, from the individual soul's journey through successive incarnations to humanity's collective evolution across cosmic ages spanning millions of years. Karma, as revealed in theosophical teachings, operates as an impersonal law of cause and effect that ensures perfect justice throughout the evolutionary process. Every action, thought, and emotion creates karmic consequences that must be balanced through future experiences, whether in the current incarnation or subsequent one. This law operates with mathematical precision, ensuring that no effect can occur without an adequate cause. The soul's journey through the 7 post-mortem stages is largely determined by the karmic forces set in motion during earthly existence. Noble actions and spiritual aspirations create what might be called good karma, resulting in blissful experiences in the higher realms and favorable conditions for future incarnations. Conversely, selfish actions and harmful thoughts create karmic debts that must be discharged through challenging experiences. However, theosophical teachings emphasize that karma is not punitive, but educational. Each difficult experience provides precisely the lessons needed for the soul's continued evolution toward perfection. The ultimate goal of the karmic process is not punishment, but the development of wisdom, compassion, and spiritual power that will eventually enable the soul to transcend the cycle of rebirth entirely. The individual soul's evolution occurs within larger collective cycles affecting entire groups, nations, and races. These broader patterns influence the opportunities and challenges available during any particular incarnation, as the soul participates in humanity's collective progress toward higher states of consciousness. Blavatsky's teachings describe vast cosmic cycles called manvantaras and pralayas, periods of universal manifestation and dissolution that provide the framework within which individual evolution occurs. Understanding these cycles helps explain why certain types of experiences and opportunities are available during specific historical periods. The wise student of these teachings learns to work consciously with karmic law, taking responsibility for past actions while creating positive causes for future happiness and spiritual advancement. Chapter 11. Consciousness Beyond Physical Death. The theosophical understanding of consciousness, as revealed through Blavatsky's communications with the Tibetan masters, fundamentally challenges materialistic assumptions about the relationship between mind and brain. According to these ancient teachings, consciousness is not produced by physical matter, but rather represents the fundamental substance of which all existence is composed. The physical brain serves merely as a receiving and transmitting instrument for consciousness, much like a radio receives electromagnetic waves that exist independently of the receiving apparatus. When the brain dies, consciousness continues to exist in its own right, operating through increasingly subtle vehicles as it progresses through the 7 post-mortem stages. This understanding explains why consciousness remains intact and fully functional after physical death, experiencing the rich variety of states described in the previous stages. The soul's capacity for thought, emotion, memory, and perception actually becomes enhanced as it sheds the limitations imposed by dense physical matter. Theosophical teachings reveal that consciousness exists in varying degrees of refinement, corresponding to the different planes of existence. Physical consciousness represents only the grossest expression of awareness, while the consciousness experienced in Devachan and the spiritual realms operates with clarity and power impossible during earthly existence. The continuity of consciousness through death and rebirth is maintained by what Blavatsky called the thread soul, or sutratma, the immortal spiritual principle that connects all incarnations of the same evolving entity. This thread preserves all essential experiences and wisdom gained throughout the soul's long evolutionary journey while allowing for the natural dissolution of temporary personality elements. Advanced practitioners of spiritual disciplines can consciously experience these subtle states of consciousness while still embodied, providing direct validation of the post-mortem teachings. Meditation, when properly practiced, allows temporary withdrawal from physical consciousness and experience of the astral and mental planes that will be permanently inhabited after death. The ultimate goal of spiritual evolution is the development of continuous consciousness, awareness that remains unbroken through all states of existence, including waking, sleeping, death, and Chapter 12. Practical Implications for Living. The profound teachings about soul evolution and post-mortem existence revealed through Helena Blavatsky carry tremendous practical implications for how we approach daily life, relationships, spiritual practice, and preparation for death. Understanding these cosmic processes transforms ordinary existence into conscious participation in the grand adventure of spiritual evolution. First and foremost, knowledge of the 7 stages emphasizes the crucial importance of developing our higher nature during earthly existence. Since the post-mortem experience depends entirely upon the spiritual substance accumulated during physical life, every moment becomes an opportunity to create materials for future bliss and advancement. This understanding naturally leads to ethical living based on universal principles rather than temporary social conventions. The teaching of karma and reincarnation provides practical guidance for dealing with life's challenges and injustices. Understanding that difficult experiences often represent the working out of past karma helps develop acceptance and patience, while knowledge that present actions create future conditions encourages responsible conduct and conscious choice-making. Regarding relationships, theosophical teachings reveal that all human connections have karmic significance extending across multiple incarnations. This perspective encourages forgiveness, compassion, and service to others, recognizing that we are all fellow travelers on the same evolutionary journey. Even difficult relationships provide opportunities for spiritual growth and karmic balance. The knowledge of consciousness surviving death transforms the fear of mortality into excitement about continued adventure beyond physical existence. This understanding helps both in personal preparation for death and in comforting others who face the transition. Death becomes not an ending, but a graduation to higher states of existence. For spiritual practice, these teachings provide clear direction for development. Meditation, study of wisdom traditions, cultivation of virtue, and service to humanity all contribute to the spiritual substance that determines post-mortem experiences. The goal becomes not merely personal salvation, but conscious acceleration of evolutionary progress. Finally, these teachings emphasize the interconnectedness of all existence. Individual evolution serves the collective advancement of humanity and all life. Understanding our role in this vast cosmic process inspires both humility and tremendous sense of purpose in working for the benefit of all sentient beings.